Hi, and welcome to this Ready to Love exclusive exit interview. I'm Steffanie Rivers. Welcome to the show. You are watching an exclusive Ready to Love exit interview, and this is where we get firsthand information from cast members who were told you're not ready to love, so we can find out where their search for love went left and the possible drama that happened behind the scenes that might have caused them to become an outcast member. We are multicasting on several platforms that includes Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So feel free to live chat with us. I'll put the link in the chat. Our guest today is April Raquel. She was eliminated last week from the list of cast members, and she's here to talk about it with us today. Thanks for joining us. Welcome, April.
Hey, welcome everybody. Greetings from Southern sunny California today. Happy to be here.
And before we get into the show, you've moved to California?
No. I am bi-coastal, so I'm back and forth between South Florida and Cali for work. I an agency here. We do upscale, high-end private events. I sing, so I'm in a band over here. So that brings me back and forth.
All
It's
right.
a
Well,
lot, but it's a good life.
thanks for taking time out to talk with us, and I know we even had, before I get into the questions, if you want to live chat with us, you can. I have going to put the link in the chat, and we already have somebody waiting in the wings. But before we bring Natasha in, I just want to ask you. I watched the show I've watched it for all 6 seasons, and essentially, you think who's going to be eliminated and who's not, and based on the previous episodes, it seemed to me that Charisse would have been the likely female cast member to be eliminated, because she was in the bottom 2 the first 2 episodes, and then the person she tied for the bottom with was eliminated. And so it just seems like, and then she called Mike's kids baggage to his face, and a lot of the cast members said she was kind of bossy, but then they eliminate you instead of her. What do you make of that, April?
So just for clarity, on that episode, it was Katie and I. We were in the bottom together. Charisse wasn't in the bottom with me that week. But in regards to Charisse not having been eliminated as of yet, just based off of fan feelings and how some of the men responded to her, I think, after that first week at the mixer when she was up for elimination, she sat with just their feedback, and she really wanted to present herself softer and more open and more approachable, relatable. So I feel like, she was on a mission to really change the men's perspectives about her. Um, I mean, honestly, that's all I offer in terms of my thoughts on why she ended up sticking around and I didn't. I know ultimately for me though, my person he wasn't there. My person wasn't there. Um, and I didn't necessarily set out on this journey to have to do a lot of heavy lifting to get a man to see me, acknowledge me, want to connect with me, to be attracted to me. I'm very much, if you know kind of person. And so I took it, with the grain of salt, that the possibility of going on this journey doesn't mean that I'm going to find love amongst this group of, well, for us, it was 9 men, not 10, since we lost one literally just a few hours into the mixer. I didn't even get a chance to meet Calvin before he left. So I didn't choose the men. I didn't line them up according to my preferences and what I wanted. So there was a chance that there might not be anybody for me. So that's really just kind of where I made peace with the whole process. Like, well, what else is there for me to do to get these guys So
So is that the problem that you feel like you've had being in Miami to begin with? You found the same issue with being on the show, that you thought, since they're going to be a select number of men and maybe they would have vetted them differently than you personally might have vetted them, that you might not have had that problem?
well, certainly. Half the men were way younger. There was a big age difference between me and them. So quite naturally, yes, I would have had a cast full of 40 plus, year old men that may have been in another space in their lives to want to connect, I wanted a substance, a connection, a man of substance that has had some life experiences, that has grown and evolved from those experiences, that's in a place emotionally, intellectually to connect with me from. Um, so yeah, I mean, I do think that might have affected things differently if that were the case, but I know that the cast of women were not all 40 plus, so there had to be some fairness across the board with the representation. So, there were some factors there that I walking into it, I'm just like, okay, this is going to be interesting because realistically, I'm probably only going to be able to connect with just maybe two or three of these guys, not like all nine or 10.
So I was trying to look back and see how old is Mike, because during that the episode where you guys went to the exercise venue, you snuggled up to Mike, and it seemed like you wanted more of an initiation from him. Some people say you might have been pressuring him to find out why he wasn't showing more interest in you. Viewers said that you seemed a little bit like, pressuring him, even though he was over there vibing with Kayla at the time when you showed up on their scene. So looking back at that, do you think that that behavior with Mike was more harmful than good when it came to you being eliminated?
So, in all honesty, the entire conversation, the totality of the conversation we had, this is the part where we're all vulnerable. We watch these episodes every Friday with everyone else without having any idea what parts are going to be included, what things are going to be omitted, edited, presented in a certain way. So I definitely wasn't happy with how I was portrayed, because that is not at all what that conversation was about. Um, I snuggled up next to Mike because he invited me to do so. I actually, and if you see on the episode, I initially sat next to Kayla when I went over to join their conversation. I didn't have a desire to interrupt their vibe. I wanted them to vibe, let them talk. And when there's an opportunity for me and Mike to talk one on one, that's what I wanted. But that was not what was preferred for me to do. So, I'm a team player and I'm going to go with the flow of how um, the show wants certain movement to be made. So after joining and sitting next to Kayla, it's Mike that is like, you need to come over here because we need to talk. I need to know why you put me in the bottom. So even though it was portrayed like I'm all in his face, all in his ear like this with, so you interested? You interested? So what's up? Either it's yes or no. What is it? That's not really what that was about. There was a very playful exchange between us. Um, but even underneath the playful banter back and forth, because him responding to me apparently did not make the cut of those edits. But he was bothered about why I initially, in episode 2, when we had our first ladies lounge with Tommy, I said what I said. And I understood then that he most likely wasn't going to be someone that I could see a connection with. Um, and I was right the first time. But with him not liking the feedback shared, not just from me, but he didn't like the feedback Cherie shared either. He didn't like, he had his feelings. So we talked about it. And I was very clear with him that, well, Mike, if there's no connection, there's no connection. Like, I'm not seeing the point in going over, going around this thing over and over. It is what it is. His feedback though was that I had not given him the chance to actually sit and talk with me, that it's a lot going on and it's very, the distractions, the pressure, which there is. I mean, I had to empathize with him there. There's a lot of moving parts and elements happening while we're trying to actually have a conversation. So I gave him that grace. But at the end of the day, I didn't feel that there was anything there for us, for he and I. And so what was captured did have me looking like I'm pressed and that I'm really clear about why he's not interested. My thing is, well, if you are, you should act on it. If you're not, then I was right. And we don't really have anything to talk about here now, do we? So that is the true nature of that exchange, is just not how y'all saw it. So no, I wasn't happy about it, because I'm in life, Steffanie, where everything I said on that show, aside from that, was the one piece that I felt y'all got me wrong, and that was not cool. But if you see on my confessionals and my interviews and my one-on-ones with just the camera, I'm not here, nor am I interested in pursuing a man. That's just not what I want for myself, not just for the show, but I'm speaking in general. I want it to be very clear, very transparent, very honest with who I am, what I'm looking to attract, what kind of relationship I'd like to be in. And as it pertains to that show, my authenticity is all that I have. So I was pretty clear, and I meant what I said when I said it leading up to that, which is why for me, that episode made zero sense. It just really kind of had me out there like real wrong. Um, but it is TV, so, and I had no control over that edit. So it's just like I'm kind of having to beat the general public's perception of what that looked like, although it was not. So many technical issues.
This is crazy. This is crazy. And of course, probably before we got started, everything was going fine. But I did hear your answer that essentially Mike asked you to move over to his side, or at least that was what the plan was. So it wasn't. It showed you as being the person who was being more assertive about the conversation, when really it was Mike trying to get more of an explanation from you as to what was going on and why he was at the bottom. And I guess, and it does seem like everybody is kind of gravitating towards Mike because he's the big, muscular, dark, bearded guy. And so when somebody says, you know what, you are not my top pick, that kind of like unsettles that person. So, and then I was asking you about Samson, who said that initially when you guys showed up to the initial mixer, he felt like you did not pay that much attention to his details, trying to garner things from him, but that you talked more about yourself. Were you aware that he felt like that until you saw the show, or did you guys talk about that at some point during the mixer?
Not during the mixer at all. In fact, when I saw it on episode 1, my jaw hit the ground, because I'm like, okay, wait a minute. First of all, if we're getting to know one another, we're mutually exchanging information, we're making introductions, and we're both sharing details about ourselves. Was not happy with that moment, because if that were the case, then I would know of his Persian and Black background. I wouldn't know that he does mentoring and that he works like as a government contractor. I wouldn't know that he does have deep spiritual roots and that he loves to cook. And I wouldn't know these things if that were the case. And so I didn't make a big deal of it. I didn't say anything about it even. I just I'm like, interesting, because in real time, we have no idea what people are saying about us when we do those one-on-one interviews and the confessionals. And it's not like folks are sharing what they're saying. I mean, those are kind of private one-on-one time that you have with the camera and the interviewer. So what you're exchanging and sharing with the interviewer, that's that. But we're not necessarily, no one is privy to that information. So I thought like, And that was literally, maybe there might have been one other exchange where he was sitting with it was Sharice, me, him, and Sharice just kind of just had a moment where we were just exchanging some small talk, but I barely even talked to Samson. Um, However, he did make the effort to account for that moment, and he called to apologize about it and just to explain that he's like, first of all, April, we literally only had moments to talk before the next cast member came in to join us, which was Tanika. And for me to make that kind of assessment, like it wasn't that, that's not how I delivered that piece of my confessional. It's as if I was talking specifically about you not wanting to engage with me or know more about me or talking just about yourself. My general statement was that this is not the kind, I'm not attracted to that kind of woman. I do want a woman that has, you know, intellectual, she can stimulate me intellectually, but that it wasn't about you, but that's how it was presented. And I'm like, well, you know, what can I say to that? Because I'm not in the room and I don't know if that's the truth, but he didn't like how that made him look. So he felt the need to try to like clear the air after that first episode aired. So there was also that, but me dominating the conversation and talking about just me, especially meeting someone, Steffanie, that is so far from who I am and how I engage with people. So again, I came away from that conversation with lots of details about Samson because he did talk about himself as well, like people do when they're meeting. So whether it was a play on an edit or whether or not he meant it the way he said it and the way it came off in his confessional, I won't really know the truth to that, but that is what he shared with me in the form of an apology.
So you have been in contact with at least one person since you left. That's good.
Well, the thing is, this is the thing. I'm a very friendly person, and it is easy for me to make friends. And I had no intentions of not having good vibes and good energies with all of those castmates. I've been in touch with several people since I left the show. Immediately upon being eliminated, though, no, I had not been in touch with Samson. So when I did get his call in particular, I was a little thrown because I'm just like, I mean, we've not been in touch pretty much since I left the show. So I wonder what could he want to talk about? And it was that.
Well, I guess and him apologizing says, something about his character that he felt some kind of way about it. So I'll give him that. But it seemed to me, and let me know how you feel about this, that some of the men made a point to say that they want a woman with brains and not just beauty. But did you get the feeling that most of the male characters still want a woman to be in the background, into their foreground, and to speak only when spoken to? That's the kind of vibe I was getting with some of the men and their comments. What did you feel about that?
I absolutely agree. I feel like, on one hand, don't say that you want a woman that thinks for herself and that you're totally supportive of a woman who is an entrepreneur or that has a high status career if, in fact, you feel that those things might be threats or that you don't want to have to feel you compete. Or, and I'm not saying that anyone said that, but this is your words coming to me, and I'm also seeing what a lot of the viewers are feeling as well about some of the sentiments of the men, feeling like they would prefer to be with a woman who maybe does not quite have so much going on, that might suggest that they might not want the brainy boss types. Um, but I certainly took that away as well. That okay, that might be a thing in the background of some of the men and a lot of men in general. I feel like that's something that single women, especially over 40, that is a part of the difficulty of dating. When you have achieved some statuses, some successes, you've like accomplished some wins, you have your affairs in you're professional, you've not needed a man for your survival. And so to meet a man at this age, it can be a challenge for that guy to really celebrate your wins with you, to want to partner with you on those things, to literally be, that gust of wind behind you that's lifting you up and pushing you out further. It's a bit of a challenge because I think for some men, surprisingly, and being on this show and kind of hearing what a lot of men are saying of from their point of view, and I've been on a podcast or two where I'm hearing men say things like, um, you know, for women to say they're independent is it's almost disdainful to them. Like there's something about it that they don't like, and they want a woman that's going to be more concerned with and prioritizing her role as their wife or as the keeper of their home, not so much them being a power couple per se. I'm finding a lot of that very interesting, but I did feel that as I started, hearing what these men were saying in their confessionals, and I'm like, huh, got it.
Yeah, so it's like, what would they have expected you to be doing for the past 25 years of your life? Just like
Right.
waiting for them to recognize you?
Right. Right. And it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation where at 46 years old, never having been married, not having kids, well, if I've not chosen that path in life, obviously I've chosen a more ambitious path. And so there's always a connotation like, okay, what's up with you? How come? Why? What's wrong with you if you've not been married or don't have a man? Whereas on the flip side, to your point, well, then what do you think I've been doing that I'm just out here single for the sake of? Because if I'm not choosing my career and my goals and my ability to elevate and to thrive and to invest myself into my career, then obviously I probably would have invested in a man, maybe. And what are you thinking? And why is that an issue for you? Especially if you're also 40 plus years old. What kind of woman are you wanting at this age for yourself? Is kind of what I came away with as questions, as one of many.
So, speaking of your career, you just said you're in Los Angeles as a part of furthering your career. Your IG profile says you're an entertainer and a singer and a fitness model. Has your appearance on Ready to Love helped you to get more recognition for your career? And I'm going to bring up one of your pictures from your IG. So, just so you know, is that okay?
So I am, so not so much fitness, I'm a fit model. So I know I have to always clarify because the assumption there is that it has something to do with fitness, but it doesn't. In addition to being a singer, as a fit model, I am basically a live mannequin form where clothing companies use my measurements and my body type to fit the wearability, the functionality, the comfort of the clothing, and I give feedback to let them know, listen, the armhole is too high, the seam is cutting in. When I walk, the short, I'm chewing up the shorts, or the shorts are cutting me into, it's uncomfortable. So I'm giving feedback to let them know how many inches, how much to increase or decrease a measurement to make these clothes now wearable. And we do a few rounds of those kinds of fittings, and once it's perfect, then those garments are sent out for mass production and sold. So that is what a fit model is, just to be clear. But more opportunities, not as of yet, not as of yet. I think a lot of the engagement I've had so far has literally been just fans of the show, and people who are just wanting to connect more with the cast and get to know us more. So, but that is what I've been doing for the past, uh, I don't know, it's been so 16, 17 years now. So what comes of it from here, we'll see. But this is the path I've chosen since graduating from college.
So during the roundtable interview, because I was a part of that to promote season 6 and the premiere, you said you wish that you would have posted more about your plant-based diet. So, and judging from this picture, it's working, and I try to do less meat and more plant-based dietary choices, but it can be hard depending on how you grew up. Why did you make that transition, and how hard is it to maintain that? What are the benefits other than you look amazing?
Thank you. Thank you for that, Steffanie. I appreciate you for that. Um, so the reason I made the choice was because of fibroid tumors that I couldn't seem to get rid of them. Back in 2012, I had undergone a procedure, and I know like 8 out of 10 Black women, roughly about 80% of Black women, deal with or have dealt with uterine fibroids. So I'm in that number. And I had them removed in 2012, and around 2019, so I started experiencing similar symptoms. I'm like, okay, is this happening again? How can that be? I couldn't fathom going through the surgery and having them removed surgically again. So for me, this plant-based route was the only way I was going to be able to address them without surgery. And I was turned on to a team. The website is the Detox Now. And I am now an affiliate with them because my journey was just such a life-changing transition. So because of the fibroids, um, their uh, their fibroid elimination program basically required and explained and broke down to you in detail what affects fibroids. Why is it that Black women are affected at such high rates? There is no other race of woman that experiences and suffers fibroids in the high percentiles the way we do. And so we had to kind of like look at why. Is it our lifestyle? Is it our culture? What is it that's different about us and our anatomy and our makeup that's different from any other race? And this team, Coach Jesse, Dr. Amoon, big love. I love y'all so because they have like helped me with the overall quality of my life, but specifically dealing with those fibroids, it was the food. And the food is either, and Dr. Sabi will tell you, food is your medicine or it's going to be your killer. And so I had to like really sit with whether or not that was something I could commit to. But I knew that not just for the fibroids, I've always been athletic and I'm very active. And I want to, at this age, this is a critical time for me to start thinking about the rest of my life. Real talk. I want to still be healthy and I want to be agile. I want to be able to move my body and exercise. I don't want my bones getting brittle and breaking down. I don't want my organs to be full of disease. And so the issue with the fibroids turned me on to this life, but it didn't um it took about a year for me to really sit with what this meant, because just doing the program only for the fibroids, I get the fibroid issue under control and then I go back to eating the same way I was. That's only going to put me back here again. So it was going to have to be long term. And to be honest, Steffanie, it hasn't been easy, because it's like you said, depending on where you grew up and what the culture is for you and your family structure with how you ate, it's a lot of divorcing yourself from the very foods that's in, we're soul food people. That's what we do. But a lot of that food also creates a lot of dis-ease in the body. And we have a lot of conditions around our health. And it's 9 times out of 10, 8.5 times out of 10, it's going to be what we've eaten over the course of a lifetime that affects our bodies a certain way. So I gave it a shot and I did it, and my fibroids are under control. I haven't had them measured recently because I don't have any issues with them at all. And the transition of and like you said, the benefits are that um my food digests so much easier. Rarely do I have issues with bloating. Um, my body is absorbing all of the nutrients from what's considered electric food, plant, which is food absorbed by the sun, meaning a lot of raw diet. I'm eating a lot of salads, a lot of green leafy things. I'm eating a lot of fruit. I'm eating a lot of grains and nutrient dense foods. and I'm seeing it in my skin. I am, and a lot of people in my world are just like, okay, whatever that is you're doing, sis, put me down, help me figure it out. I want to know what it is, because it's not just about what it's doing internally for you, but you see it on the outside. So I'm just praying that I can stretch this thing called life out and enjoy everything I can from it, and not have to spend the last maybe 10, 15, 20 years of my life with declining health. I am really all about life, and um, just having a great quality of life. So it helps me to not crave some of the things that I grew up eating. Like, I don't miss eating red meat, because I now understand how that affects the body. I don't miss chicken. Um, I don't miss dairy. There are enough alternatives where, if you just open yourself up to other ways of dining and finding the cleanest possible ways to feed your body. For me, the addiction became how I feel, not so much the commitment to the foods that I'm just used to eating. I don't want to feel a certain way, so I'm not going to eat the things that make me feel lousy and that ultimately hurt my health. So I'm 2 years, what is this, 22? Yeah, I'm 2 years in, and I don't plan to ever look back. The plant-based, nutrient-dense ride is the one that I'm riding for life.
That's awesome. You know, a lot of people don't realize that even if we know our body changes, but with that, the way we digest food changes as well. Because I recently had a food intolerance blood test, and I was told, you know, potatoes is not something that I should eat, even though my body can digest potatoes. It's harder, and it'll be hard on my kidneys as I get older. And so I commend you on learning these things and taking heed to them. And so I'm trying to get on that journey as well. So just thank you for sharing your story with us. And I know, one last question about the show. I know that you guys recently, or last weekend, taped the reunion show. So what can we look forward to learning? What type of drama is going to come out at the reunion?
Steffanie, um, well, we're only like at this point 4 episodes into the season, so there is really no way I can even talk about what to expect on the reunion without spilling any beans of what you're going to see on these upcoming episodes. So unfortunately, I cannot share much, because I cannot rob you all of seeing everything unfold gradually the way the season intends for you to see it. But I will say that um, a lot of what people were feeling, because I know one of the things that I keep seeing is folks questioning the integrity of, like, why people are on the show, and and you said it yourself in the beginning about these shows being more about production and the drama than it is about real connections. um and I'm not disputing that at all, but I will say that the things that surface in people on these shows from the inside, being a part of it from the inside, it was really something to see folks' sensibility, some of their vulnerabilities, traumas, um, and maybe resolve parts of themselves. I think a lot of the cast might look at this season play out and then look at the reunion and really identify some things within themselves that could be areas for growth, or things that they didn't even know were there. Because sometimes we don't know what it is we're harboring until it gets activated. And a lot was activated at the reunion. So I can tell you that. And I would encourage you to not miss a single episode, because there are a lot of storylines developing and unfolding before your eyes. That's all I can say.
Well, thanks for sharing, and we will keep looking. So we wish you the best in your career, and we look for what's next for you. And I'm going to follow you, if I haven't already, can't remember, on the gram, and so I can keep up with you. And we'll invite you back at some point. If there's anything going on in your life that you want to share, we'd love to have you back as a EUR exclusive interview in the future.
Definitely, I love that. And I would also encourage you to follow me on my Fit page, which is April Raquel Fit. And there I am talking a lot more just about, physical health. My workouts are there, talking about partnering now, and just sharing more about that process of switching all of the endometriosis and posts, like really all about Black have programs that help men as well, but really the Black female reproductive system, we're just in, I feel like a crisis because we're told to get these hysterectomies, and that's the only way to manage and be rid of your fibroids, and that is not true. So it is a passion of mine at this point to really share with my sisters out there who, and you included, who do want to make a change or who want to shift and who want to deal with some of these really debilitating conditions that we've got going on, bad gut health. I want to be as much of a light and as much help as I can. So Steffanie, please, if you're open to me helping you, just kind of sharing more of my experience, we can most definitely stay connected outside of this or that, but I am talking more about that stuff on that page. And I feel almost like this is really what I'm hoping to share and enlighten. And I think this is a part of this, is to just like really help people see that you can do it. I'm not a cook. I've never been, always the athlete. I was never home with my mom in the kitchen. I was at cheerleading practice, track practice, volleyball practice. I was just always active, which is why it's important to me to be able to ride the rest of my life out this way. But if me being a non-cook can get in the kitchen and figure out how to make my kitchen work and read a recipe, buy the ingredients, and transition my lifestyle this way, then you can do it too. So let me know how I can help you. And I am sharing more about all of that at April Health Fit on it.
Okay, so I'm trying to put that in. That's at aprilhealthfit.com.
Oh, April Raquel Fit. That's on my Instagram. That's my second Instagram page.
Okay.
But I do have
April Raquel Fit.
Yeah, April Raquel Fit. AprilRaquel.com is my website. But please follow me there so we can, you can really kind of see in real time as I'm posting and sharing where you might be able to get some tips that'll help you too.
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. So I again want to thank you for joining us, and we'll keep in touch, April. So you have a great week ahead.
Thank you so much as well. Thank you for the opportunity and for having me.
All right. Bye. And we want to thank you too for joining us. We've been talking to April Raquel. She's a former cast member on Ready to Love. And to find out more about the things that EUR Web has going on, as well as myself, you can go to EURweb.com. Thanks, and you have a super day.